Hey everyone, welcome to Future Symphony, a podcast for Musicoin by me, Corey Mark Fisher. Musicoin is an online decentralized music streaming platform built on blockchain technology, and it believes that creativity is the most valuable commodity, as it offers full ownership of royalties and a much higher return than any centralized streaming platform. In this podcast, Future Symphony, I interview talented musicians to get to the core of their creativity. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to Future Symphony Episode 1. My name's Corey Mark Fisher, and today we're talking to Matt Gray, one of the most talented people I've ever known and one of my oldest friends. Matt Gray actually made the song that you're listening to right now. He's got a lot of interesting things to talk about when it comes to music. You're going to learn a lot from this podcast. I hope you enjoy. Matt Gray, thank you very much for coming on the show today. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, really good. I wanted to start this conversation off by letting the audience know that we'd actually done this interview once before, which went really well. It sounded really good, except that we had two lapel mics hooked up, and I won't go too far into it, but
it didn't work.
It didn't work. We had this buzzing noise coming up, and I had to fall back on the microphone, a H1 recorder that I had in between us in the room. So the sound that we got in the end was this environmental sound. What do you call a H1? It's a
field recorder.
Field recorder, right. So it was recording the whole room. And then when I asked you to try and pick up the gain in the sound for me, it just picks everything else up. And
it sounded like shit.
Look, it sounded all right. My girlfriend Malika was like, oh, look, as a listener, it's probably fine. And this is going to lead into the first topic I want to talk about. But for me, my head was like, yeah, you got to... Just leave it. Just leave it. It's fine. You got all this other work to do. By the way, if anyone doesn't know, I work as a cryptocurrency journalist. I got to review another cryptocurrency today. My head's like, no, you got too much on. You can't do it. Just leave it. And then something in my gut was like, you have to go and do this. You have to do it right. And so I want to talk with you first about perfectionism. For me, it's sometimes my greatest ally, and at other times it's my worst enemy, but it's exactly what made me come over here again today, is because I wanted to properly represent you, and I wanted to properly represent this podcast with as best of a quality sound that we could get out of it. And I know that it is a plague that affects so many artists, so many musicians. So let's just get it rolling, and I want to ask you about, what do you think about perfectionism? How does it affect you? How do you use it? Let's start from there.
I think perfectionism is a pain in the ass, but it's necessary when trying to give the best of yourself in a way. But like you said, it can be a burden as much as it can be a good tool. A good example is not being able to finish things because of perfectionism. Sometimes the want to have things be as perfect as possible stops you from finishing things, because you're always going to get better and you're always going to learn new things. So if you always want to apply those new things to what you're doing, it'll never be good enough. But at the same time, having a high standard of work and a high standard in what you're doing is really important, such as coming over here and doing this again. Even though we're going to have the same conversation we had last time to an extent, I think it's important. Things like this show integrity in what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's important on, I don't know how to explain it. It's like maybe it's a fundamental level that doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but to me, it does. For the work to just have that thing to it, that quality.
That's it. Yeah, you don't want to have to look back at the things you've done and go, oh man, I could have done this, I should have done this. I think you always are going to do that to an extent, looking at your earlier work or your earlier productions and whatever, but you want it to be the best it could have been at the time.
Let's talk about the beat that's the intro to this song, that to this podcast that you made called Coconut, right? In terms of perfectionism. So what do you think you approach that track with a perfectionist attitude?
That track in particular, I don't think so. I think I was more so just having fun. And that's a lot of the music I make. I don't approach it with a perfectionist attitude. It's once I make something fun and I get attached to it and I get a grand idea in my mind of what that idea could be, that's when I get that attitude come about. But to start with, it's always just in fun, and that one kind of finished in fun. That whole tape that I released, Fresh Food Market, with all the names of the different foods as the tracks, they were all just ideas I had, and I put them all together in a day and put them out. So there really wasn't too much perfectionism going on with that stuff. But I really like it. It's good fun.
Right, but if you got caught up in the perfectionism, you may have not released it at all.
Possibly, yeah. Or it might have been 10 times as good. Who knows?
And then I love that track, the one at the beginning, Coconut, and that whole mixtape as well. I can feel the fun in it. I think, I'm sure you could mix it better now or something. I don't know what you'd say about that or whatever. I don't even hear that myself.
I think I get more caught up in the idea of, oh, is this me? Is this sound really the style that I want to go with, that I want people to know me for, which is something that comes up a lot for me. I make so many different genres of music and I love so much different music that what I'm releasing, I often hesitate on because do I want to appear as a multifaceted artist in all these genres, or do I want to be a hip-hop artist, or do I want to be a rock artist, or, I got to work out those lines sometimes. And the perfectionism of that probably would have stopped me from releasing those songs because they are quite obscure.
Right. Yeah, well, hey, you probably do, in terms of picking a genre, you make beats electronically with a machine.
Shout out Native Instruments.
Yeah.
Sponsor me, please.
Yeah, I mean, you've been using Native Instruments for years.
The whole time.
Not only that, but you play guitar, you play bass, you play saxophone, you play rock music, house music, techno, you make hip-hop, you rap as well, you psychedelic rock, what else? I mean, jazz as well.
I do kids' music for theme parks sometimes.
Yeah, you also have produced music for SeaWorld as well, right?
Yeah, for a theatre show there.
Yeah. So let's talk about that then. How do you personally pick the genre and how do you deal with that, I suppose?
Well, look, for releasing music and music as a business, it's annoying and it's hard. But for the fun and the expression of playing music and music for myself, for me, it just means that when I go to make something, I can ask myself, how am I feeling? What does that feeling sound like? And it's not restricted to one genre. If I'm in a space where making rock music is going to be the most relevant kind of music that I could get, this is hard to explain. If rock music is going to be the best interpretation of the feeling that I have through a sonic form, then I can make that because I'm able to and because I love that music. And then an hour later, I might be making a house track because now I'm feeling like having fun in that kind of sense. So it's good for creating, it's great for expression, but like I said, when it comes to deciding what to release and what aesthetic to put forward of myself, it can be hard. And battling whether to put myself forward as a multifaceted artist or to hone in on something. But yeah, it can be quite complex to deal with, but I don't want to complain about it because I'm sure a lot of other people wish they could operate in different genres.
Sure. We did talk about in the last time that we did this interview as well that it is important though as well to package your music in a specific genre in order for it to be published, in order for it to be shared. I
can't put together an album that's the first song's a house song and the second song's a jazz standard and the third song's a punk rock track. Like I could do that, but I don't know how well it would be received because most people seem to like certain kinds of music. I feel like I'm in the minority where I like a various broad range of music. I like to put it that I just like good music. I just believe there's good music and bad music. I like the good stuff in all genres.
Well, so where do you think you do fit in with music?
I think mostly at the moment I fit in as a producer. Previously, I'd played more of a role as a performer, fronting bands, and I still do that as well. I'm in a band called Hot Wax, a rock band based on the Gold Coast that's doing some really great stuff. I really love playing in that band. I play bass in that band. I'm also part of a hip hop group called People Luminous. We've got some videos out currently, and there's new stuff coming. Just keep an ear out for that. But so I have played the role as performer, but it's turned more into producer in the last few years. Really directing, creating, and writing music for my community and the people around me to give them a platform to showcase them on a stage. Not that I have that much of a stage yet or an audience, but it's growing bigger and bigger. So yeah, that's kind of my role, is taking artists and working with them to create something that's going to showcase them and me.
Which makes you very useful to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Because a lot of people, they just rap or
absolutely.
they just
yeah.
play guitar.
And because of that, I'm a busy guy. Yeah.
Yeah, you are. Hey, do you want to talk about Hot Wax a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So Hot Wax used to be another band, but some members changed. I joined the band at that time along with our drummer, Brad Yogi, who I play in a couple of groups with and see almost every day of my life. Shout out the Yogi. Yeah, we joined the band about 6 months ago, and we changed the name to Hot Wax. That's myself, Brad on drums, Nikki Swamp is the vocalist, and Jake Brown is the guitarist. And we play rock music. We're inspired by like punk music and psychedelic music, and also kind of 70s style rock and stuff like that. Anyway, we're going really well. We've just put out our second single called Hear Me Out. They're both on Spotify, our two singles, so check them out.
Hot Wax.
Hot Wax. Got some videos coming. A tour announcement soon. We're playing a big sound festival, Sydney Music Week. Yeah, check us out on social media and whatever if you want to follow.
Something that, so you got, yeah, it previously was a different band and it had a different sound to it. And then, as you said, some members left and it was left with this, okay, so what do we do now? And the band was totally repackaged. It was reformatted, and very quickly the way that you guys have approached it in making this new music and the way that you've started to put it out there too, if you'd like to touch on that a bit, you started to see you've started to see success pretty quickly.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we initially, when we came into the band, we were playing songs already written by the previous band, and they were really great songs. All props to all people involved in that band. But it became apparent pretty quickly that we were, lacking our own identity as a new group of 4 people, because both myself and Brad coming into the group, we both have very strong personalities within music and writing and playing, so it was only appropriate that we kind of revitalized the sound and took it to somewhere where we all felt comfortable and like we were all making music we really liked. And through that, and through Nikki, the frontman, being a super organized human being, we've ended up getting opportunities with some PR companies and stuff like this, and we've been running campaigns for our singles and doing a little bit of the industry stuff, spending some money, per se, on the necessary things to really get your music out there and get a good shot.
Can you break that down a little bit for anyone out there who doesn't really know about spending money on your own music to get PR companies to work for you and to help you to get your music out there?
Sure. So the basic idea is that you've got something you want to release, whether it be a single, an album, a music video, or all of those things. Working with a PR company allows you somebody else that is going to, on your behalf, send out your work and bios and press releases and all this to a bunch of blogs, media companies, radio stations, blah, 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 all these different people that we as artists don't have connections to. We don't have those email addresses, we can't just send our stuff to those people. And also, if you have a good PR contact, their name, if they've got a good reputation, people might listen to your music over something else because that specific person is handing it to them. It's a little bit of the whole who you know thing, but this is a paid for service because it's called servicing, that the company will be working on your song every day for a period of time. For us, it's 3 months at a time, trying to get it out there and get it as much attention as possible. And so far, it's been the most valuable investment we've made as a band.
We're talking about genre before and packaging it. You've also got to have a a finished song, right? You got to have it mixed and mastered.
Everything has to be done.
Yeah, you got to have it, and like a music video.
Yeah.
So you got to have it all done for the PR company.
Yeah.
Before they can push it.
That's it. That's a big piece of advice I was given is PR companies love it when you come in and everything's finished. They don't want you to come in and say, I've got this song, but it still needs to be mixed properly, and I've got to shoot a music video for it, because that makes it really hard for them to do their job.
Yeah, because they do PR.
That's it.
They don't do mastering.
That's it. That's exactly right.
What difference have you seen with that? Because I've known you for years, and for years you've been making songs almost every day. I've actually never known anyone like you who's just always constantly chipping away. It's very respectable. And you've released a lot of songs on SoundCloud, and it never really quite happened. And, you know, who's to say that it should, that you got seen by the right person randomly and then something happened where something took off and suddenly you got known because of a random chance.
Sure.
Whereas now how you're approaching it is you're paying the right people to do their job, to help you out, do your job, which you do best, and you're seeing results almost instantly.
That's it. There is there's something to be said about wanting to do everything yourself being a detriment to your success. I like to do as much as possible. I'm a little bit of a control freak when it comes to my music and my art, but I'm learning that other people know how to do their jobs better than I know how to do their jobs. So involving them, you know, spending money on those kind of things, creating a team, creating a network of people to release your music and to work within the industry is definitely the best way to go.
Hey, well, your first song that we're going to play today,
it's called Cold World.
This was off your first feature-length EP. At the time you were approaching it like you're producing an album. It was just like a full feature-length soundscape, I suppose. Let's talk a little bit about that before we get into that track.
Cool. Okay, well, I moved to the Gold Coast from Canberra in late 2016 in December, and within a few months found myself living in a house with my girlfriend, my friend Zoe from Canberra, and my really good friend Aaron Griffin, aka Sloth. And together we got this house in the hills in the Gold Coast, which is lower East Queensland in Australia. Beautiful place. You've probably seen pictures of it. You should come here.
Yeah, it's got golden beaches, rainforest. It's gorgeous.
Let's have a beer. I'll be here. Anyway, we moved there. This really beautiful little miniature mansion. It was so big. I don't know how we even got this place, but in the lounge room there was this weird raised platform that was kind of like a stage. I've never seen anything like it between these two pillars. So we put all our music gear on there and created a really cool little like studio in the middle of the house kind of thing, and rehearsal space and jam space, and it ended up being used every day. Anyway, in the midst of all that fun, I wrote and recorded a song called Ghost, which is on the Strawberry Blonde tape we're talking about. And after finishing it and listening to it, I kind of had this epiphany that I was finally ready to stick to something and to make a full album. I was thinking of it at the time, but a full collection of songs, all myself, produced by myself, all the instruments played by myself, everything done in-house. And it got me really excited, and I then spent the next 6 months, like every day, writing and arranging and recording and mixing the Strawberry Blonde EP, I would call it. Ended up being 12 songs. So this is Cold World, the first song I released off the EP. It features Aaron Griffin. He really helped out with a lot of this record in writing and in featuring vocals. And he also played it with me live when we did shows. He played synth lines and backup vocals and danced around on stage like a madman. So yeah, shout out to him for allowing us to do that. That was really great. So yeah, this is Cold World off the Strawberry Blonde EP. You can find it on Bandcamp.
It's a cold, cold world that we're living in. Warm it up, mix it up, pop it with the cinnamon. Cold, cold world that we're living in. Warm it up, mix it up, pop it with the cinnamon. More offerings, soften me, there's no stopping the goodwill of people Catch me when I'm stumbling under me. Boxes on boxes laid out and in between me and the cold, cold one that makes us shivering. It's a cold, cold world that we're living in. Warm it up, mix it up, apple with the cinnamon.
Shiver, chitter, chatter, hear my teeth talking at ya. I'm not teething, man, I'm freezing, scared of dreaming in my catcher.
Cold, cold world, 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 oh, oh.
So that's Cold World, hey? That's an interesting sound, Matt. I would like to know what you think that genre of music fits into.
Yeah, it's a weird one. A lot of the tape sounds very similar to that sonically, I find, and it's I like to call it bad mixing, the genre.
Why is that?
No. The mixing's just not that great on it. But no, it's dance music. That song's a dance track. It's got elements of house involved, but also like future-based kind of modern techniques of slicing vocals and stuff like this. But it's kind of a pop song in a way, that one. But it's got this weird shimmery, shiny top to it, which a lot of it has, this tape, which is like this little sparkle, poppy sparkle on top of maybe some like darker dance ideas in a lot of it. But I approached them more like, that song in particular, I approached as more of a pop kind of song feel with the dance element involved.
Yeah, I feel like you approached this album EP, with the intention of people enjoying it and listening to it.
Sure, yeah, I really wanted to use arrangement ideas from, modern popular music to try and really package my sound in a way that people could digest easily.
Pop, we've had this debate before where I've probably said pop music's like,
Pop music sucks.
yeah, pop music sucks. And you're like, no, pop means popular.
Yeah, that's it. So pop is a genre in the way of the way you write and arrange things has always been the same in pop music, or very similar, like quite similar. But pop generally refers to what's popular and the most sellable music of the time. So if you go back to the 50s, swing music was popular. If you go to the 60s, psychedelic rock music was pop music, It changes over time. You got to the 80s and we started getting what we now more so see as modern pop coming through. But it really changes all the time, and I think it more so refers to the successful music, the most commercially viable music. And generally that's because these are acts pushed by really, really big companies, and they're designed to be successful. But sometimes you get artists that are really just coming off the bat and manage to get themselves into that pop sphere without really intending to do so.
It's like the industry couldn't predict it. They couldn't predict
Sometimes, yeah.
like this kind of music.
That's it, and that's often where we see changes in trends in music, is when somebody doing something different does break through to that level. And quite often that is a record company pushing something like that because they can see that there's a gap in the market or a trend coming that they could jump on early or try and trigger, which is kind of a fascination of mine, creating something new. Like, what is the new thing? What's going to be the next big thing? But yeah, pop is always going to play a really strong hand in getting your music out there and reachable by people.
An artist that comes to mind straight away who wasn't necessarily pop music, but became very, very well known and well respected. And more as the years go by, I realized that he had such an influence on music these days that I hear people pushing. But James Blake.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I love James Blake, man. I've loved James Blake since his first EP came out, and a lot of his dance tracks before then I really loved as well. And he really came through with, they were terming it post-dubstep at the time, James Blake, Mount Kimby.
It's almost for lack of a better term.
Basically, yeah, it really was. It fascinated me, man, because it came out of nowhere as this really new sound, something new I hadn't heard. A lot of it was uncomfortable. A lot of it I didn't even particularly love, all of it. I just loved that it was different and how different it was, and over time I genuinely enjoyed the music. And he's still pushing boundaries till today. He's released a few singles in the last few months that are quite odd but very cool. Very, very cool. I can't remember the name of the song. There's a music video with a car and street lights. If you find that one,
I haven't heard any of his new stuff. Oh man,
it's very cool.
But I still vividly remember the first time I heard his, is it James Blake, the self-titled album?
Yeah.
I laid down on the couch and I listened to it, and I listened to the whole album the whole way through, and I was just going, this is something else, man.
That's, that feeling, I remember that as well.
Yeah, I don't have that often, you know, so
and
kudos to James Blake.
I got to see James Blake at Splendor in the Grass when I was playing there a couple of years ago. He was also playing, and got to see his live show on the big amphitheater stage. It was amazing. It's all analog gear, everything. They had to restart a song once, but it's because all their gear is linked up via MIDI and all these things. There's no computers involved. It's crazy. The three guys really just do it all live. It's so cool. Very, very cool artist. Actually, a lot of my tape was very influenced by James Blake. Yeah. A lot of the production, a lot of the drum choices and synth patterns. I was listening to a lot of that previously to making the EP.
I wonder if you would have gone that direction if James Blake hadn't have come through before.
I mean, my music's always going to be a culmination of all my inspirations, I suppose, mixed in with what I hear in my head.
Hey, you did say to me once though that when you made that album EP, which by the way, what's the name of it?
Strawberry Blonde.
Strawberry Blonde. How do you spell that?
Strawberry, the regular way, and then blonde without the E on the end.
You told me that you didn't, in that 6 months that you were making it like a madman, you didn't listen to any other music at the time.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I listened to the radio sometimes in the car, but I was not seeking out music to listen to because I didn't want to be, overly inspired by someone else's music while I was going through the process of writing this tape. It was very introspective that time, and I think that really allowed me to do some of my best songwriting so far. But I was really happy to finish it and start listening to music again.
Let's go back into time. Let's go back to little Matty Gray and where you began in music.
Sure. So when I was very young, like age 6, 7, 8, my family, growing up in Canberra, which is in the ACT, a few hours south of Sydney, it's the capital of Australia. I grew up there. My family was quite into jazz music and going to jazz festivals, and it was a thing that once a year, a couple times a year, we'd go to festivals near Canberra as a family and stay for a few days and, with my grandparents watch jazz music, and, I'd end up babysitting my little cousins and stuff when I was old enough while my parents went out and partied, and, it was a good time. But so from a young age, I was exposed to jazz bands, and I fell in love with the saxophone during that time and really wanted to play the saxophone. I couldn't straight away. I wanted to, but the music teachers told me my hands were too small, so I had to play the clarinet first, which I played for a year before I got an alto saxophone. My parents got me one. Thanks, Mum and Dad. I actually still play that saxophone today. It's the only one I've ever had 12 years later. Yeah. Wow. It's rusty, but it does the job. Anyway, so I started playing sax when I was young. I played oboe in the band as well at school, and then, yeah, man, sound like a duck. Girls do duck face for photos. I do duck sound for the girls.
Bet you got all the girls with the oboe.
Oh, man, I was such a loser. Anyway, I did that, played in bands, ended up teaching myself guitar. I did a few lessons for the guitar, did lessons for the saxophone for years, learning jazz.
I watched you teach yourself the guitar.
Yeah, well, I did a few lessons. I think I did maybe 6 or 7 lessons and decided it wasn't for me. I didn't really like. Ironically, they were trying to teach me funk guitar when I first started, which I thought was strange.
Why is that strange?
I just thought it was a weird way to start teaching me guitar. Like, they asked me what kind of music I liked, and I didn't really say funk. But anyway, that's kind of what I started learning, and I got over it and didn't really want to learn that, so I just taught myself instead. But now I'm getting really interested in funk music, and I wish I had a few more funk lessons under my belt. But yeah, so I taught myself guitar, and then bass, and then keyboard and drums and everything else, and started singing when I started my band Anashel in Canberra, which is still probably one of my favorite groups I've ever been a part of and always will be. It was like the first time when I was 18, really creating a group and getting out there and playing shows and writing really cool psych rock music with my buddies. Shout outs to Taze and Byron and Batesy. And yeah, I did that, played in some other bands, The Nose also. Big ups to Alex Mybush, the man. He was the front man of that band, really great songwriter. Should check out anything of his you can find online. It's hard to find, but you can get there. But did that kind of stuff, moved to the Gold Coast. I've been producing for a couple of years. Started that when I was like 18 as well. Well, that's more than a couple of years now. God. But yeah, that's really it, man. That's my story. I've just been playing music a lot. Different bands, different shows, different genres.
Well, since I've known you for so long, I think I can shed a bit of an insight because I've seen a fair bit of your journey. And something that I've really noticed about you and always admired about you is you're playing one time in your life, probably when not when I first met you, sorry, but let's just start off when you're playing saxophone in jazz band.
Yep.
And you're improvising and doing that really complicated stuff, and that's kind of where you're at. And then Anashel started and you were like, hey, I'm just going to teach myself how to play guitar and sing. And then one day you got yourself a machine. You're like, hey, I'm just going to start producing beats and figuring out this whole garage band thing.
Yeah.
And you've just always been like that. There's never been a wall in front of you going, oh, no, I play guitar, I don't play this, or I just play saxophone, I can't sing, or anything like that.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I can't help myself. I just love music.
Well, maybe do you have any advice for anyone else who's younger in that sense of like what you can or can't do maybe?
Well, you can't do anything you don't try. So I would say just try everything if you can. I mean, music instruments are expensive, but I've made most of my music on really cheap instruments and different gadgets and things I find secondhand online, things like that. I would suggest that. Don't feel like you have to go, oh, I want to play guitar. I have to go and buy $1,000 guitar from the music shop. Buy a $60 guitar on Gumtree that like works good enough, because you suck when you start. So you don't need a good instrument. The instrument is not going to make that big a difference to your playing. You can have $1,000 guitar, but you're still going to suck. So you don't need to feel like you can't have 5 different instruments because of money reasons. You can do that. You can try them, and if you don't like them, you can sell them again to someone else.
What do you think about singing? If someone goes, I can't sing, so I'm just not going to try it. I got a terrible voice.
Well, I mean, when I started doing vocals, I felt that about myself, and my vocals weren't great, but I did it anyway, and they got better, and then they got better, and then they got better again, and now I'm at a point where I can very comfortably listen to my voice recorded and do live performance and feel confident with pitching and getting the notes right, and I feel like my tone's developed and such. So I would say anyone that wants to sing, if you feel like you got a bad voice, the first thing to do would be to try and to practice and to see how that goes for you, because in the end, again, you're not going to be able to sing if you don't try. So if you want to, have a go. But unfortunately, it does seem to be one of those things that some people have a lot more trouble with than others. I didn't have that much trouble. I think because I'd played a lot of music. I think if you're going to sing, I would recommend, if you don't play music, you don't make music, and you think, oh, I got a good voice, or I want to get into music, or I want to get into production or whatever, I would say out of all those things, teach yourself, or you don't have to teach yourself, get a teacher. Either learn some piano or some guitar and get some basic music understanding, whether you're going to sing, whether you want to produce, blah, blah, blah. Get that and what you want to do. So if you want to make beats, get Ableton, get Machine, get whatever you want, get set up with your digital equipment, start playing with that, because that's a whole nother realm you got to learn. But I think it's really beneficial to just learn basic music theory if you want to start doing anything in music. Especially singers. I think that it's really important that singers understand what they're doing when it comes to playing with other people and bands and stuff like that, to an extent. Not everybody has to. And say like rappers, if your thing's rapping and that's really what you do, go for it. And if singing's your thing and you don't know music, fucking go for it as well.
I'm sure even if you're rapping, having some understanding of music theory, even just a little bit of understanding of how to play the piano.
Well, I mean, rhythm is music theory, and that's used a lot.
You still use tone in rapping as well?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Practice, just practice.
Well, hey, speaking of rapping, right? Your second song that we're going to be playing is called 1111 by your group, or the group that you're part of, called People Luminous. So, what is People Luminous, and what is 1111, the song that we're going to be listening to?
Okay, so People Luminous is a collective of artists on the Gold Coast that was founded by myself and Nikki Swamp and Jordan Baker, or Lightyear. It started last year. I kind of called everybody together, to different rappers, singers, producers, artists I know in the hip-hop field on the Gold Coast in Brisbane, to, kind of unite under a collective name and try and work on some stuff and just have a go at doing a group format through hip-hop music, because everyone's quite solo in that scene of the people I know. Anyway, so we've done that, and it kind of, went from about 13 people down to, a core group of maybe 5 or 6 people. And we did about 7 songs. We've got them done. We did some videos that were released but aren't released anymore, because we just soft released them, took them out. We're looking at doing a campaign with them, putting them out probably later this year. But there's one video and single still out and on Spotify and YouTube and everywhere, which is 1111, which is a song you're about to listen to.
And what's 1111 about? Because it's got a bit of a deeper meaning than... So
1111, it speaks to the, the synchronistic power of seeing digits, matching digits, 1111. 333 is talked about in the song, time, connection, all this kind of stuff. And it's also tongue-in-cheek, got some Stranger Things references to the character 11.
I agree with him, man. I see 1111, 222, 333, 444, 555 every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And even the other day, right, I hadn't seen it for a couple of weeks, and I said to my girlfriend, I haven't seen the double digits for a couple of weeks, and then
bang,
boom,
yeah,
like an hour later I saw it, and I haven't stopped seeing it ever since.
Man.
Yeah.
The craziest ones happen to me when I'm in the car, right? And I've got a button in the car that I have to press to see the time. It's not always displayed. So I'm in the car, and this happens every few months. I get a voice in my head that goes, "You should check the clock. It's 5:55." And I press the button, and it's 5:55. And it goes, "Whoa!" In my car, it gets real loud. It's a very exciting moment.
You can call that coincidence, right? But to me, man, it happens all the time.
When I hear the voice in my head that tells me that's it, and I hear it clearly, that something's telling me to check the time, and it's correct, that's crazy.
And usually when I see it, I'm thinking like, oh, I'm stressing about the time. I'm going
Sure.
like, oh shit, am I late? Am I this? Am I that? Am I in the right place? Am I in the right time? I'm not necessarily having that thought. And so then I go to check the time, and it's like 11:11, 3:33. And to me, that kind of says like, you're in the right time. Like,
Yeah,
it's
hey,
perfect.
to me it helps, man, whenever I'm feeling anything. If I ever look at my phone or look at the clock and it's any of those synchronistic numbers, it always is a little bit of a pat on the back for me, saying like, no, you're doing the right thing, keep going. Like, everything's good.
Yeah, if I'm stressing
Or we got you, or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's weird, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't question it really. I just go with it, and it seems to
good.
happen more often. I
Even
use
if
it
it's
like a
not
tool.
anything, it's not hurting anybody, so...
No, it's not.
But anyway, so this song's called 11:11 by People Luminous. It features myself, Nikki Swamp, Jordan Baker, or Lightyear, and Travi P, who is on a lot of the songs on the People Luminous project, although he's no longer able to really represent with us as he's moved to Sydney to pursue his work.
Travi P.
Travi P, check him out.
Yeah.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
Shout out Travi
You
P.
definitely find him on YouTube.
Yeah, he's on YouTube, he's on Spotify. He put out a great tape last year called Points. Photos of images never taken. Check that out. Anyway, People Luminous, 11:11, coming at you.
Look at the clock, it's 11:11. Look at my watch, it's 11:11. A number connection with heaven. Stranger things call me 11. Hey, we look at those what you get. Blessings, I live in the present. A number connection with heaven. Start from the top, independent.
Look at the clock and it's 3:33. What else could it be? 21st of the 12th on my 33. Magic numbers to me. 33, 33, 33, 33. What do you mean? Spiritual guidance in my energy. Holy Trinity. Out of my mind with 3 lenses I see. I'm out of the wind but I'm feeling the breeze. Natural mystic in the air I perceive. It's hard to believe. 33 levels of Freemasonry. Sign of the beast but I don't fuck with these. It ain't that deep, it's just me being me. 33.
Look at the clock, it's 11:11. Look at my watch, it's 11:11. A number connection with heaven. Stranger things call me 11. Hey, we look at those what you get. Blessings, I live in the present. A number connection with heaven. Start from the top, independent.
11, I live in the present. I talk to the gods and I'm plotting my presence. I'm blessing you all, I'm a reverend. Out of my mind, numbers from my other side are sleeping in the mind. Like my memories, I'm number 5. Keeping me high, no wheels on the ride. Zoom through the sky, oh my, for the 1, third I beam like the sun, run the game or it's never getting done. I can't wait till the day that I can say that I won. PL, yeah, we on one. L, smoking my L, 2 of my dance, casting my spell. Broke out of hell on a debit card, fly out PL.
Look at the clock, it's 11:11. Look at my watch, it's 11:11. A number connection with heaven. Stranger things call me 11. Hey, we look at those what you get. Blessings, I live in the present. A number connection with heaven. Start on the top, independent.
My favorite digit, that's the number 7. Upgrading these commas, we whipping these Benzes. Stylist so flawless, don't care what I'm spending. Got some new shoes, what you wearing? 11s. Your chin on the bloody shit look like 11. Starting that blow, got her floating in heaven. She can OD while I listen to Devin. Rolling up blunt at that house by the 7. Taking it here, like when was it ending? 11:11, like where we headed? We're in a journey, we not on this planet. Communication, you can't comprehend it. Talking in numbers, you can't understand it. All that you want, we already have it. Call me Bugs Bunny, I want me to carry. Expensive days, like hotels in Paris.
Sun on the curtains. Was 1 in the morning, I slept and I'm certain. 13's on the clock. I'm a different person, making disturbance. See me, I'm swerving. I think that I'm dreaming asleep. Tricking a tree, different rip every week. House by the beach, real estate like Travi P. Knocking on doors, no luller. Messing with my team is a nunner. Going out to dinner and it looking like a primer. Eliminated like red dots and GoPros. I'm 1 extra, baker's dozen. How you feeling? Gonna save you from it. Run laps from the base to the summit. Crossing the line and we won it, yeah.
watch, it's 11:11. A number connection with heaven. Stranger things call me 11. Hey, ooh, look at those, what you get 'em. Blessings on blessings, I live in the present. A number connection with heaven. Start from the top, independent.
So that's 11:11, and you produced that song, right?
I did. Hang on, what's the time? Let's check. Just think. No, 1:51. Yeah, I did produce that song. I produced it and I wrote the chorus. That's kind of how we started a lot of the songs. I would make a beat on that track and a few others. I would write a hook. Did that. Put it to the boys. The boys wrote some verses, laid them out. Bang, bang, bang. Recorded it all at Jordan Studio, which is a great space. Mixed it, got it mastered, did a video with the JN Collective, Golden Coastline feature in that video, the dance crew on the Gold Coast I'm affiliated with. Incredible dancers, some of the best in the world, I would say.
Yeah, we've got a really cool scene here on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
No one really knows about it, but it's amazing.
It's about to have a light shined on it. Everything's going better and better for everybody, so you'll know the name. You're actually sitting in front of me wearing a Golden Coastline t-shirt right now.
Yeah, Golden Coastline.
Check it out. You want to see some crazy dancing, some really creative vibes and real family vibes? Check out Golden Coastline on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram.
Man, I hadn't even planned on asking or talking about this, but it's a really interesting mix that I've seen is the way in which we inspire each other as dancers. I mean, you and me are dancers as well,
Sure.
but how we inspire each other with dancing, crossing over with music.
Yeah. I think it's a gap that has been needed to be bridged in this country for a while. There's been work for dancers with commercial musicians, but that's really been the closest thing to a collaborative effort between dancing and music on a mass scale. I think within hip-hop and urban music as well, we're really trying to push the boundaries of collaboration and, just a artistic community that operates under the same mindset and has the same steez, and goddamn, we all look good. Telling you.
Oh, yeah, we do. I would really recommend to anyone out there, if you can try and find a scene, like a creative scene, even if it's people that, say you make music and it's not people that make music, but they're dancers, or even if they're visual artists or something. But I've noticed just being around those guys and being around that collective, being around creative people.
Yeah.
Even for me with my writing, being around creative dancers.
It's infectious.
It's really infectious. And usually you have very similar goals.
And everyone's supporting each other to do their own thing. We're all doing our own things and then trying to come together and work together as often as we can to do what we can. It's really great. It's been a really great experience to get to be involved with this community. And we've got so many multi-talented people. There's many people in this community that are some of the best dancers you've seen, but also amazing singers or producers or, we can do it all.
Yeah, I like that. It's not this whole, I just do this one thing. It's, I'm an artist or a creative, or the way that you approach dance can actually influence the way that you approach your music.
And everyone's very supported to really take those risks and be themselves. And we've got some great mentors in our community, that really promote the be yourself, be creative, be free mentality.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
I want to go on to a different subject. I want to really just ask you a few questions in breaking down some of the tips and tricks that you have found when it comes to producing your music that you might be able to pass on to someone else who's younger or less experienced.
Sure. Tips and tricks. Tip number 1, don't do too much. Less is more. That's probably my most used tip that I have.
Why is that?
It's really easy to overcrowd your work. I feel like everyone resonates with the idea of, when you're a kid and you're trying to draw a picture, right? And you're drawing that picture and it's going really well. You really like this picture. And then you go, maybe I'll just color this bit in red. And then you color that bit in red. And afterwards, it's like, damn, I just ruined the picture. Like, not having that extra thing there makes it better. And that goes for music so much of the time. If your idea isn't good in its simplest form, it's not going to be good in a complex form. So yeah, that's a good tip. Tip number 2, use what you have to make what you want to make. Be creative with the tools you have. We were talking in our last conversation about how I never had a bass guitar to start with, but I always really liked using a real bass sound rather than always using synth basses. So I used my guitar, my electric guitar, running through a pitch shifter down an octave, down 12 steps, and EQ'd and compressed to sound like a bass guitar, and I got away with that for years. Don't know if anyone would have noticed. If they didn't know that's what I was doing. So that's fun. That's just a good example of use what you have. Don't feel like you have to, again, have the best gear or every different instrument to get every sound. Use VSTs. Use the free programs you can get online to get different sounds and synth engines and all this. Do all that. Sample stuff. If you like sampling, go to op shops and find records and dig through them and try and find interesting sounds and effects and all that. Yeah, man. I mean, tips and tricks. The only other one, tip 3, is just keep going. Like, don't stop, because every year or every month you do it, you're going to look back and see your progress. And sometimes your progress will be slower than others. But overall, I mean, if I look at my progress over the last 7-8 years, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be a part of doing something that you can really start to feel like you have a full grasp of the understanding and the knowledge you need to utilize that thing to be your version of success and live a good life.
What is success?
I mean, for me, success, the goal in success is to be financially secure, to be able to support a family, myself, my loved ones, and hopefully more than secure, so I can support more people in need and promote good activity and good things for humans to do. But it also means living a sustainable lifestyle of doing what I enjoy doing to obtain that income. And so for me, being successful is just continuing to be in this industry and reaping the rewards for hard work and have a lot of fun while I'm doing it. It's really interesting. It's all happened quite naturally, to be honest. I currently work as an audio technician, a live sound technician at theme parks on the Gold Coast. And I fell into that because I was working as a performer in those theme parks on stage doing dancing and acting. And they needed a technician to fill in for a little while. And I said I knew I could do it and give me a shot. And they gave me a shot. And I've been doing that ever since. It's been a couple of years now. So that's really helped get me into the industry that way. And through that, I ended up getting the contract to compose for the theater show, which was really great. That was a really great experience. Millions of people see that show every year now, so that's pretty cool. But also just working with more people, putting music out, doing as much writing as possible. A lot of it's about connections to get work. You know, if you want commission work, if you want to do mixing work, if you want to do any of that, you've got to know the people that need the work, you know. So yeah, I've done those kinds of things. What else? I mean, performance is another big one. I currently perform with a group called G-Dot, where I play saxophone and do dance routines and have a really good time. It's really funny. 3 really great Kiwi guys and myself and Brad. We perform at a place called Eat Street very regularly in Brisbane and travel around the place doing stuff. Actually just got back from Bowen, which is up near Mackay in Australia. A couple of days ago, we were up there doing a wedding for a family of traveling carnival people, which was interesting.
Cool.
Didn't see one crocodile though. I was upset. We went looking.
So there is an industry for music.
There is, yeah. Believe it or not. I didn't believe it for a long time. I still don't sometimes. Longevity in that industry is the hardest thing. Right. There is an industry there, but gaining a space where you're going to be relevant and needed for work is the hardest thing to set up. But yeah, there's opportunity there if you're willing to seek it and put in the effort to find it. And I'm not claiming I'm at any kind of step of saying I've done that yet. I'm only starting still, but I can see it all just getting bigger and better from here on in.
Something I've noticed about you on that journey is that when you've said, I need to find work in music, it may have taken a little while to get there, but
absolutely,
it's happened.
Well, I mean, it took me moving cities to start with. You know, you've got to be somewhere that needs the job you're doing. For me, that meant moving to the Gold Coast and being around things like theme parks and performance opportunities, and because it's quite a tourist city and there's a lot of entertainment and stuff around, it's needed and there's money for it. So it's a great way to get started, is to first of all be somewhere where the industry exists. And if you're not, maybe have a look at trying to create an industry where you live, or, create a need for what you're doing. Maybe it'll stand out.
So maybe you can't just make music in your bedroom, upload it to SoundCloud and expect that.
This is the thing. A lot of people have this dream idea of doing exactly that. They're going to make some beats, they're going to be trendy, they're going to upload them to SoundCloud, they're going to put some fucking wavy looking picture as the thing, look cool, and people are going to really like it. And yes, that does work in some instances, and some people do get a lot of attention on the internet for doing these things. Most of those people don't end up having any kind of longevity in what they're doing, because there is no real integrity a lot of the time in what they're doing. They're just throwing together digital things that they've YouTubed how to do and put it on the internet. And people like it for what it is at the time. But I think for myself and for a lot of other musicians and producers and composers and whatever, it's a long, steady incline of a journey to do. And for me in particular, I'm a Capricorn, so I'm a bit of a mountain goat. And my story has been set out before me that I have to climb this really big mountain over the journey of my life. And I will get there to the top, and I'll feel really good when I get there. But I don't really get to skip anything, I don't feel. And I'm okay with that. I feel like the process is all the learning that I need to do to get there. And hopefully by the time I get there, it's something really special.
I've got to say for myself, I'm experiencing a very similar thing at the moment, maybe, is that I've had to climb a mountain. And many, many times, I'm 27 now, many times when I was 19, 21, 23, 26, I always wanted to have this skip moment where I somehow skipped what I had to do and I was there.
Yeah.
But I look back and I go, if I had been there when I was 19, I didn't know anything about anything. What
exactly,
could I have even done?
It might not have worked. And it's funny because we always want this skip moment, and you don't get it while it's happening. But then, say you turn around and you go, wait, all this happened to me in the last 2 months? That is a skip moment. But it just comes in the way of natural progression and opportunity.
Could be like a text message one day.
Yeah, exactly.
Something.
It could be one thing, or like for you, you've ended up in a fantastic place of being able to support yourself and feel really passionate about the work that you're doing. And you haven't been doing it for all that long, and the build up to doing that was very natural. There was no skip moment or some grand opportunity that came absolutely out of nowhere at you. It just took being passionate about something and really setting your intention that it was something you wanted to do.
I'll break that down quickly for anyone out there. So I'm a writer, blah, blah, blah. I was like, writing's not working for me. How can I make it better? Okay, I got to start to make videos. I just got to get myself out there. So I made a website. The website was hell to make. I struggled for months to get that going. But I thought, if I can get myself out there, then maybe someone will see me. I made the website. My girlfriend was like, hey, you should think about podcasting. And I was like, oh, podcasting. Okay, I've never done that before, but yeah, I'll give it a go. You and me did a podcast. Then this guy, Daniel, who's an ambassador for Musicoin, was like, hey, anyone out there on this Jordan Peterson fan page, anyone make podcasts? I've got this idea, send me a podcast. I just randomly saw that, and I was like, yeah, man, hey, check out my podcast. He got back to me. He was like, dude, this is perfect. I work for this platform called Musicoin. I want you to do these podcasts, yada, yada, yada. I was like,
nailed
okay.
It, bro.
I was like, well, to me, though, it seemed, I didn't know what to make of that. It seemed normal, I was like, this is cool, but it wasn't like, it's not how I'm feeling now about it. Sure. And then I was like, well, I should check out what this cryptocurrency thing is. And then, boom, fell into a rabbit hole, learnt about all that, and now I'm a crypto journalist.
You never know what's going to be the big thing for you, It can often be the things that are sneaky and you wouldn't expect are going to become something that takes up a lot of your time and thought power. But they generally end up being things that you didn't know you loved yet, but you do. And
you just gotta, I feel like you just gotta follow your heart or your curiosity, whatever's like, oh, I feel like doing this today.
That's
and
it,
put in the work.
Don't ever think your idea is too far-fetched or, oh no, that'll be too hard to get to that point, because it might take you ages to get there, or it might happen tomorrow. You don't know unless you have a go. That's really the theme of this conversation so far, I think, is make sure you try the things you want to achieve. Don't write yourself off from the beginning.
Okay. Well, from there, we're going to get into your third song in a second.
Sure.
It's called Red Sun.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you're going in a bit of a new direction with this. And this is going to be your first release on Spotify?
Look, yeah, it's very likely to be. I can't say that for certain. But it's going to be released. It might not be the first thing that comes out, but it's going to be released. I'm currently working on really developing a honed-in sound for myself that is something I really feel that represents me, which is kind of a fusion of elements of hip-hop, soul, jazz, funk, very groove-based music, whether it's slow or fast, R&B, different things. But this song is very inspired by Afrobeat music. Fela Kuti, yeah, very Fela Kuti. Never going to be as good as Fela Kuti, but, it's a good vibe. But the song is about following and finding inspiration in Australia in particular. And Red Sun refers to the big sun over the Australian open sky. And following that is sort of our version of the American dream, the Australian dream. I find like the opportunity in our new country that we're in, a relatively new country where there is opportunity around every corner. You just have to, kind of follow the sun to your destiny.
That's sick. Hey, we could play that song right now, but first, I just want to ask you, what is the meaning of life?
Destiny. No, the meaning of life. I answer this question differently every time someone asks me it. So that would say to me that the meaning of life is just to do life and take as many opportunities as you can, have as much fun as you can, experience as much as you can. I think evolution and growth and survival are all things very inherent in life itself. So I would say the meaning is to just do those things to their fullest. So we're out here living.
Our Destiny.
Destiny.
Red Sun by Matt Gray. Thank you very much for coming on this podcast, man.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me. It's always good.
Oh, wait. Quickly, before we go, where can we find you?
Okay. Shameless self-promotion. Go. Matt Gray Music, Instagram. Matt Gray Music, Facebook. Matt Gray Music, YouTube. Nothing is on streaming platforms yet. I've got a Bandcamp for the Strawberry Blonde EP. I've got a SoundCloud that you can try and find with all my old stuff on it, but that's limited time only. All stock must go because I'm going to delete it. So, check me out. You can find my music online. Videos is where I mostly post things. But there's lots of new content coming soon. And yeah, that's it.
Red sunset, red sun, red sunrise, red sun, red sunset, red sun, red sunrise, red sun, red sunset. Rise like the sun, set like the sun. Rise like the sun, set like the sun. Ow! Rise like the sun, set like the sun. Rise like the sun, set like the set. Baby, I don't usually do this. You're about to hear the exclusive. Pushing on my limits for a minute now. Running out of reasons to do this. Gotta find my drive in the red sun. Get my feet back into the movement. Calling on the spirits of the motherland. Light me up and let me land where I need to do this. So wait up, yeah, I gotta catch up. Early in the morning getting busy, what up? Rise for the waves that will never give up. Set to the rhythm that makes you blush. Come on, I got the keys to the ship. Gonna whip into space on a bitch life, baby, what up? Just playing, I was setting it up. Hit the ground, James Brown, and baby, get up. Red sun, red sunrise, red sun, red sunset, red sun, red sunrise, red sun, red sunset. Rise like the sun, set like the sun. Rise like the sun, set like the sun. Ow! Rise like the sun, set like the sun. Rise like the sun, set like the set. Yeah, I said it's where I'm from, yeah. Working dust till dawn, yeah. Still gotta mow the lawn, and if I'm lucky, my time will come. And if you're really out here working for a paycheck, living so slow, not breakneck, speeding down the road to the death, of the pleasure and the pain of the way to the shipwreck, baby, come on. I got a reason to roll, loving this sun, burning out of control. Follow that one with the sausage roll, cause he's a red sun motherfucker out on patrol. So back up, I got the keys to your ride, gonna slip, gonna slide on a bitch like lady, what up? No kidding, I was calling your bluff. Hit the spliff, hit the ground, you probably never get up. Red sun, red sun, rise, red sun, red sunset, red sun, red sun, rise, red sun, red sunset. Rise like the sun, set like the sun. Rise like the sun, set like the sun. Ow! Rise like the sun, come on. Set like the sun, rise like the sun. Set like the set. Red sun, red sunrise, red sun, red sunset, red sun, red sunrise, red sun, red sunset. Rise like the sun, set like the sun. Rise like the sun, set like the sun. Ow! Rise like the sun, come on. Set like the sun. Rise like the sun, set like the set.
Hey everyone, if you're still here, then thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to find Matt Gray's music, there will be links in below, so be sure to check that out. He's an amazing musician. Next week, we're going to be talking to Logan Priest, aka Location, a young 16-year-old prodigy musician who's got a fascinating outlook on life, and also his music is going to move your soul. If you want to get in touch with me, you can follow me at Twitter at Corey Mark Fisher on Twitter. I'd also like to give a big thank you and a shout out to Musicoin. Head over to musicoin.org to check out this groundbreaking music streaming platform. Thank you for tuning in. This is Future Symphony.